Hello and welcome to Encounter Roleplay. It is Monday, which means one thing. It is Game of Thrones Day, and it is the Crownlands. Before we get into tonight's show, I'm going to shout out our wonderful sponsors for the season. Helmgast, who give us Cult, Divinity Lost, which is a wonderful modern horror game where we delve into the dark sides of humanity and everything beyond. If you want to see that in action, join us on Wednesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. It's an adult horror show. We go dark, we go into everything, and we opened a door to the Inferno last session. We threw a man in, and then we met a spider thing on the ceiling, and I'm not sure what world we're in anymore. But, you know, we only murdered that one guy that one time. I'm sure there will be no consequences for anything. Speaking of consequences, the consequences of my friendship with Sam is that I bug him about the latest Modiphius releases every time I do a Modiphius plug, because Modiphius has so many wonderful RPGs, I cannot keep up with the news. I will say big news for Encounter Roleplay is that Sword of Carlis will be back in action this week. So kapla, friends. Today is a good day to roll dice on a Thursday, 6 until 9 p.m. for that. Special announcements, I think Fallout is the latest thing that Modiphius has put out there. That big RPG is on its way. Anything you can tell us about that, Sam?
Oh, it's coming. It's not out there yet. Don't give people false promises. Last thing we released, I think, was the Klingon core book for Star Trek Adventures. Before that, we had Dishonored in terms of RPGs. Otherwise, do check out modiphius.net for a whole host, just like Charlie said, of third-party partnerships. We release a lot of indie RPGs, actually, alongside their developers and publishers. So we co-publish a lot of stuff. So yeah, check out the website, and there's a whole load of stuff there.
And that includes things like Tales from the Loop, which is an incredible game, and Cult, actually, interestingly enough. One thing I should also mention, if Wednesday is not enough Cult for you, we're actually going to be over on the Helmgast official channel on Thursday, with an extra one-shot in the same I Am Pilgrim universe, but an entirely different Chaos Chorus cast. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be 3 p.m., so that's before the Star Trek show. So lots of Cult coming up for you this week, if you like our Encounter Roleplay content. And I'm going to guess you do. And if you really like our Encounter Roleplay content and you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment down below, because I'm doing comment of the week. We do clip of the week, which is great for people watching live, but for you watching on VODs, we appreciate you. We want to be able to shout you out as well. So comment of the week. This week, it went to the wonderful Maddie with a comment about Allegra that we appreciated very much. They see Allegra rolling, they hate in. Hashtag Allegra forever. Speaking of Allegra forever, hello, Susanna Grace. How are you doing today?
Hello, Charlie Smith. I am doing very good today. It is good to be back in Allegra's fashionable outfit. I missed everybody daily last week. I was stuck in a car for a million gajillion hours. But I'm very proud of my family for not completely destroying everything in my absence. So, I'm really hyped to be back this week. And I'm here for Allegra's really nice sort of leisurely trip back home north, with nothing bad ever happening to her ever again.
I mean, I can agree to the part that she's traveling north. Nuno, how are you doing, friend?
Hello. Very well, thank you very much. I'm excited. Today is the day when Astor moves out of Famine's hold for the first time since the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. So that's exciting. It's going to be you. Let's see what happens, Charlie. I'm sure King's Landing is not like a pit of vipers everywhere. Everyone's going to be super nice and welcoming. And I'm going to leave a super, super nice Yelp review in the end of the episode, right? That's what's going to happen? Yeah? Yeah. Thank you, Charlie.
I just heard in my head Allegra go, well, I had a good time, as she pictures Balerion Otheris on a balcony. Speaking of a good time, it's always a good time to play with Shauna. How are you doing, friend?
I'm doing good. I feel like I just came here because I did the last round of EncounterCon, but I'm excited to get back into this, see where our investigations goes. And yep, Adeline also did a murder and is currently living out the consequences. So we'll right now.
Was
Maybe
it
later.
just one murder, Shauna? Is that
It
how
was
you're
like
describing
8.
that event?
It was 1. She wanted 1. It's like 8, 9, 9 now.
That was collateral. It was an explosion of arrows. Yeah, it went good. And dealing with consequences is Jamie's forte. How are you doing, Sam?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks. I'm weirdly a little tired like you, although I've done nothing for like 6 days because I've had this little holiday, this staycation. So yeah, I'm a bit spacey, but I'm all right. I'm looking forward to finding out more about these 3 unfortunate deceased people that we have in the back of a cart. We're just trailing around the Westerlands. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, totally normal Amazon delivery on its way to House Hornvale. Or rather, House Brax of Hornvale, I should say.
Right.
But before we get to that delivery, let us pan, if you will, south from House Tremaine at Famous Hold, across a little bit to King's Landing. It's looking good. The seas have calmed a little. Skirt around the coast and down to that craggy, stormy end, down in the Stormlands, where we last did see Allegra Dorsey fleeing with her stepdaughter Donella. You stole 2 horses, and Donella stole a few additional things. Camping has been rough and difficult, but you are fleeing for your life, which makes this journey a little bit trickier. What sort of a place has Allegra set up camp for herself and Donella? Susie.
Well, seeing as we don't actually have any camping supplies, Allegra would have found, and this like insults and hurts her to her very core, she would have found any sort of lean-to or shepherd's hut or barn or stable or any little structure in the countryside as they're traveling for Donella and herself to shelter in overnight.
Perfect. And I'm going to say this is a burnt out barn. You're not sure exactly what caused its state, but its timbers are rotting, blackened and charred. The roof has a very sizable hole through which a number of members of the local wildlife have come in occasionally in your brief stay here. There's a drip left by the summer storms, but today is somewhat peaceful, at least. Donella has spent most of her time curled up in a tight ball, trying to keep warm, trying to stay out of your way, and trying to read through the letters. Letters gifted to her by Lord Diran Baratheon. Letters her dead mother had exchanged with Baratheon's late wife. And as the morning light cuts in through one of these broken slats in the side of this building, she's holding up the letter to it, and you can see that gold light hitting it in the shadow of the ink on the other side, although the letters are not quite decipherable for you. You're both dirty, damp, and you have miles and miles to go. What do you do, Allegra?
Allegra slowly rises and stretches as she is feeling extremely sore from the days of riding and sleeping on a floor. As she moves over to Donella. Donella, darling, put those letters away. We've got to keep moving. Otherwise we'll catch our deaths of cold out here.
A glum, sulky look. And she slowly rolls back up the letters she'd been reading.
Look, I'm sorry that we're here, but it's the safest place for us to be right now. It wasn't safe there at Storm's End.
She gives you a look that suggests she isn't convinced you're right.
You think I'd really want to be here in the dirt? Camping and this? I'd much rather be there waiting for your father to return. But we're going home. And listen, now you're a woman grown. You're old enough now to hear this, but I need you to help me. We've got a long way to go, and well, I'm with child. Now, you remember what it was like when I was carrying Carrie? I got sick, I got tired. I'm going to need your help more than ever, Donella. Do you think you can do that for me?
To begin with, very concerned with your announcement, a little horrified even, perhaps forgetting just how long it takes to have a baby, fearing perhaps the screaming and blood returning before you even reach home. She does soften, however, as you ask if she can do that, and she'll nod. And sheepishly, apologetically, she pulls her kind of overcoat from her shoulders and offers it out to you.
No, sweet girl, you keep that on.
Pulls it back on.
So
She looks
ready?
down at her hands, and you can see they're dirty, and it seems to really be bothering her. She's rubbing her fingertips. She's trying to get the dirt off, but it's really just smearing. And she doesn't want to rub it on her clothes, and she's looking around. There's a dirty puddle, but it's clear she thinks that's only going to make that worse.
And I think Allegra takes her hand in hers and turns it over and sees it's dirty. Hers is also filthy. We'll find somewhere we can clean up. I hate this as much as you do.
So you collect up the small share of belongings you managed to bring with you, the small things that you'd managed to pack as you'd fled Storm's End and stole 2 horses and set out. You're still passing through a relatively rocky region as you head north, although it is softening a little, not quite the strong landscape of the mountains to the south. But you hear the sound of bubbling water. It's odd. It's as if there's a giant cooking pot somewhere around the corner. And the horses are fussing, grunting, sniffing at the air, snorting out. And what's your passive awareness, Allegra?
My passive awareness is 16.
All right. On a 16, you can smell it in the air. Sulfur. Something earthy, chemical, almost.
Do I have any idea what this could be?
Is looking around too. Why don't you make a knowledge check with education, maybe?
Oh, that's a whole big 2 die. 7.
No, sorry, education is to teach, but okay, 7. You are not sure. It smells. You think this is probably like an earth thing. But maybe it's a dirty stream somewhere. Maybe that's the sound you can hear. But you're not sure.
Donella, how do you feel about a little detour we can investigate?
She looks at the muddy road ahead and then looks at you and turns, and she can smell it too, and she's looking around in roughly the same direction as you can smell this potent aroma. She shrugs.
I will take your silence as a yes.
The enthusiasm of a sulking 17-year-old.
Yeah, and so Allegra just veers off to check it out. Make sure that Donella is following her too.
Okay. This terrain is difficult, and as I said, your horses are fussing, so I'd like you to make an animal handling ride check, Susie.
17. Oh, get in there,
Right.
Allegra.
So this isn't your horse, but most horses behave the same, and you can comfort them in the same way, a soft tone, a pat on the neck. You manage to guide it through the safe gripping on this slippy, rocky ground. And as you turn up a hill and down the other side, there's a cut-out crevice here. And you can see steam rising off of a pool, and the bubbling has become a deeper sound. And it literally is like looking at a cauldron in the earth, only there's none of that dark metal. It's just the earth itself cradling this bubbling liquid. And the smell here is stronger.
So Allegra sees this big, like, almost in the earth cauldron, as is described, with like bubbling hot water, and her eyes kind of light up as, oh, maybe this is bath time. And she's gonna just dismount from the horse and approach.
Right, as you go down to the water's edge, you hear a call from the other side, a jovial shout, a man's voice. Wait up! And there's a splash as a naked man jumps from a rock into the bubbling cauldron of steaming water. Because you gave me one request, Susie, and I told you, I wrote it down, hot springs, hot boys. That was my request from Susie for today. Oh, you can't see it because it's green screen. Hot springs, hot boys. One gift.
See, get you a bestie who gives you hot springs and hot boys. So Allegra is going to like turn to Donella with a grin on her face and says, Donella, dear, you may want to avert your eyes. And then she calls out to the man in the hot springs. Hello?
He has surfaced, he pushes back his hair, and a hand goes up to see through this steam. Hello? His voice echoes around this cauldron. It's like an amphitheater. It makes everything louder, and voices carry further. Donella looking dead at him because of course she is.
Yeah, of course she is, because that's Donella. Allegra's gonna kind of like hitch up her skirts and sort of wade in to like ankle depth, or like not fully, but just try and get in a little bit so he knows where she is and call him over.
He kind of wades through the water, and it's a strange blue color. It's kind of got a milkiness to it though, like there's a lot of sediment in it. And he wades on through until he's just below nipple height, the water, coming out towards you. He has 2 nipples. Male presenting, don't worry about terms of service.
Thank
Susie.
you for specifying that he had 2. Yes, Charlie.
The man has arrived before you. Not 3.
Okay.
You don't know, this is a time of witches and conspiracy. You never know what you're going to find coming out of a cauldron in the earth, okay?
You gotta check. You gotta check. Oh. So Allegra,
Sorry.
Allegra says, I don't even know how to go from here after the nipple talk. That's a sentence. Allegra says, good morning. How are you? What is this place? Where are we as well, actually? That's a good question.
You're not far from Haystack, my lady. And he's looking around for something to cover himself with, but he's in the middle of a bubbling pool, and there is nothing. So simply he just puts his hand through his hair again and crosses his arms.
Are you having a pleasant bath? I'm sorry to intrude on you.
We like to keep clean.
No, I can see that. And she gives him the up and down.
Jeff, stay over there. There's women here.
Is there, excuse me for, intruding, is there like a women's area that my daughter and myself can perhaps rest in for a moment?
If you wanted to take advantage of the water, my lady, you may. I'll go over there.
What was your name?
I hate you, Susanna Grace. I asked one
I know
thing.
you do. I know. But you tried to make me sing 2 weeks ago in Pendragon, and I've never forgotten. I will never forget it.
My name's Martin, with a Y. Thanks,
Martin
George.
with a Y. Thank you. Well, Martin, that's very generous of you. So, is there anywhere to stay in Haystack?
At the house, my
The
lady.
house?
Yes, Lord Errol's house.
Lord Errol. Oh, okay. Would you perhaps, after our birth, be able to escort my daughter and myself there?
Of course, my lady.
Wonderful.
Do you have business,
Now,
his lordship?
not at all, we're just passing through, but I thought it must be polite.
Of course. You have a very nice
there,
voice.
Martin? You seem flustered.
I just wasn't expecting to find a lady here.
And I wasn't expecting to find a spring. Now we're both in luck, aren't we?
Yes, as I said, I will be over there, and then I'd be more than happy to take you to Haystack.
Thank you, Martin. You've been so wonderful.
He nods, and he's kind of like the top part of him shivering, the bottom half of him is pleasantly warm, and he's gonna turn and just wade back. As he wades, you do see on his back a number of old scars from what would be a whipping.
Oof.
They've kind of softened to kind of just a light translucent pink.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see very clearly 3 sharp lashes across the top and 2 more further down. And then they slowly kind of disappear beneath this blue, milky water.
Mm-hmm.
As
Let's
does
be real,
Martin.
Allegra wasn't looking at that. She was looking at his
No.
butt. Let's be real. But yeah, after Martin has turned and swum away, Allegra will sort of gesture for Donella, like coax Donella over, and she'll just derobe and have a nice bath. Matt, fuck.
So you disrobe. Donella is a little bit shyer, but she does because she wants to get clean. And since you're doing it, it must be all right.
Allegra will even, like, fully nude, she'll get her, like, cloak and hold it up so Donella can get undressed, you know, semi-comfortably. She'll do the mum thing, you know,
She dips her toe into the water to start with, and then is almost surprised it's warm. She can feel the steam coming off of it, but it's still strange to her that there's a giant puddle of water that's warm. And then she'll bend down and she'll scoop up a handful and she'll sniff it. She makes a face. It does smell sulfurous here. And then she looks at you and then grimaces and will walk further into the water, deciding she wants to be clean and she'll figure out the smell afterwards.
It's not pleasant, but we must do what we must do on the road, Donella. Tell me, Donella, do you know anything about Haystack and the Lord Errol?
She looks awkwardly around and then she raises her fingers and makes little antlers.
Baratheons?
And then a sign for introduction.
Oh. The Lord Baratheon introduced you.
She
I
nods.
see. And was his introduction merely one of politeness, or did he have ulterior motives?
She shrugs and bobs under the water slowly. And then comes back up, deciding she doesn't like it. It smells.
Mm-hmm. Well, that I suppose that's in our favor. If the Lord Errol already knows you, may be more inclined to offer us some hospitality while we're here. Though I don't know what Lord Dirren told him.
She turns and looks in the direction, and you can see Martin is still in the water, but up above him, kind of perched on one of the rocks just through the steam, is another man, and he's sat kind of leisurely, and he's looking in your direction, making no, like, preface of hiding it. He's just watching the pair of you in the water. You probably cannot see a lot because you can't see much. It's more of a trace through the steam. You would guess they're having a conversation. You can hear a little bit of it echoing around as the sound is really amplified here. It seems to carry in strange directions.
So, Allegra will... Donella, you stay here just one moment. Make sure your shoulders are beneath the water. And she sort of side-eyes the men. I'll be right back. And she's going to just very leisurely swim over to the two men, and then when she gets nearby, she's going to, like, do a Bond girl, like, you know, like, out of the water, kind of. Gentlemen.
My lady. Martin's eyes drop. Jeff's eyes
now
do
you
not
look
drop.
away.
The
Jeff,
guy on
I
the rock
suppose.
doesn't look away. Yes.
You seemed rather interested in myself and my daughter. I thought I'd come over here and introduce myself.
Just explaining to Martin, I'd heard some interesting rumours about 2 runaways from Storm's End.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Really. And he reaches behind him and he pulls a dagger. And I'm going to make sure you're not going to run away any further, because someone's looking for you.
And what do you intend to do with that?
He kneels towards the edge of the rock. She's a pretty thing, your daughter. All of the value of a girl is in her face.
Jeff, darling, you have just made your first and last mistake.
Unlikely.
So
Put
go
your
on.
clothes on, we're going.
Oh, are we?
He slips off the rock and into the water, advancing towards you with the knife. Martin in the background looks sheepish. And you get the impression that he is subservient to whoever this man is.
And Allegra's going to look at Martin. So very brave you both are. Packing 2 women bathing. Unarmed women, might I add. Very chivalrous. Very honorable. Are you going to let this man do this, Martin?
He says it's our instruction to take you, my lady. I was not aware of who you were. Come on, clothes on. Jeff continues to advance towards you through the water, this knife still in his hand. He's not wearing anything and he doesn't particularly care. He's actually very well maintained. He's got a fresh cut of hair and seems relatively broad shoulders. You can see a few nicks and scars here and there, but he's not grizzled in any way. And definitely not underfed.
Allegra will, as he advances, she'll put her hands up. Very well. You've got me. And she will begin to sort of turn to move back to where her clothes are. And
Susie,
wait for Jeff to approach. Yes, Charlie.
before we played today's game,
Mm-hmm.
we did warm-up rolls.
We did.
You got a very good roll.
I did.
And Allegra and Donella both were given a boon. Thank you very much, Pope. And thank you very much, Apocalypse, for the banes and things. We will be adding those in shortly. I would like you, Susie, to use that roll and describe for me how that happens as you attempt to escape Jeff and Martin, because you do not want to go with these men. Is that the boon information I'm going to give you? You do not want to end up going with these men where they're going to take you.
Do not want to go with them. So Allegra sort of plays compliant as Jeff is blade out, walking with her towards Donella. And I think she gets to Donella and gives her a look like, get ready. And as she sort of reaches the edge, she is going to hold up, stop moving. So Jeff comes next to her, and I imagine he sort of grabs her to be go on, move. But she's going to use the environment to catch him off guard. She felt a rock in this pool, and she's going to sort of slam her knee into the side of his, so he loses his footing. And as he does, grab the knife, and as he's slipped down in the water, she's just going to shove it straight in his stomach and pull up like she's gutting an animal. Like she's done many a time. She's just going to skin his belly. Just a really nasty, deep cut. And pull the knife out, obviously, because she knows that's how you bleed.
Of course. Yeah. And so you do a barber's surgeon job on this man, and blood is just pouring out and bubbling into this cauldron, mixing with that blue milky water and spilling out. Martin in the background has the good sense to swim in the opposite direction and head for the rocks. Donella has sprinted for the shoreline and has your horses in hand. The man, as he floats towards the shore where he rests, guts spilled out, you notice carved into his flesh, it's healed now, but it looks like a symbol. It looks like a brand almost, and you do not recognize it in particular, but it seems like the kind of a mark you'd give a thief or a criminal so that others would know they had committed a crime. Unless you think Allegra would have information about such brands for any reason.
Nah,
nope.
I don't think she would. So yeah, she clambers out of the water instantly. She doesn't even take time to put her clothes on. She grabs her cloak, slings it across her shoulder, makes sure that, very quickly that Donella is okay, and then they just mount up and take off.
And so you flee, and the wind makes you cold through as you head back on horseback, damp, and you ride clear through. You break into the softer landscape north of the Stormlands, the edge of the Crownlands almost, it seems, although still miles and miles from home. And up ahead, you can see the coastline just between the trees. You've pushed out far to the east of Westeros as you come this way. But north of you, you have been told, is Haystack Hall. You need to come back inland a ways, but it would be there.
I think Allegra turns to Donella, and she's treating her like an adult now, rather than just the tag-along child that she has always. Donella, what do you think? Do we go to Haystack Hall? That's why that Martin said. There was a lord there. I don't know if they were working for him.
And she gives you the sign of a crown on her head, and then her sign for trees. And she points, and the trees on the coastline that push inland beyond this do give way to a larger, denser forest. Donella, a very educated girl, is telling you that she thinks that's the Kingswood.
Mm-hmm. So we should push through then. We should keep going. Makes sense if there's somewhat of a bounty out on us, then we shouldn't tarry around here. Keep going. It's going to be rough.
She reaches down and tightens the straps on her horse's bridling and saddle. And then she'll slip off and she'll check yours as well before climbing back onto her horse.
Mm-hmm.
You see her turn her side pouch round so it's sitting in her lap. Her collection of stolen and acquired things secured. She settles into a better stance for riding, swapping from her normal side saddle, which she does prefer even at speed generally, to a more standard mount. It's not very comfortable to ride side saddle in a saddle that is not made for it. And she shifts.
All right, good girl. Thank you. Are you all right, by the way? Back there was quite a lot. I imagine that's probably the first time you've seen a man die.
She shrugs. It's kind of a sad. And then she looks to the Kingswood and she looks behind and she kicks her horse to start going. She doesn't want to see any more men die and she doesn't want any coming after her either.
All right. And so, yeah, Allegra will kick her horse and follow suit.
All right. And you ride. And we will cut to the hoof clops and clips of two more riders. And then we hear the creaking of wheels on a cart. As Jaime and Adeline, you arrive at the house of Brax. I think it's known as Hornvale House. I've got a lot of different names in front of me. I've got to make sure I get them all right. You come up and it's a lavish house. These are bannermen for the Lannisters. And it has a grand courtyard in the front, and in the center of it, there is a large skeleton of a horse. This is a Shire horse skeleton kind of size. But protruding from its forehead, a horn, curved slightly. Jaime, the size of it reminds you almost of a dragon's tooth. And it is blackened as well. And as the wagon pulls into this slightly almost cobbled courtyard, you see the delicate lacing of spider's web between the ribs of this long dead horse. And that eerie feeling of a place abandoned. There's no chicken conveniently skittering across, no sound of horses in the stable. No one stood on guard.
He holds his hand up, says, "Whoa there." He stops his horse and indicates for Adeline to stop as well.
Something wrong?
He turns his horse full around and then looks at Adeline square on, says, "Where is everybody? This is the holdfast."
Yeah, not even a single person. No guard.
From the wall, a raven takes off cawing into the distance, and a wind pushes around, and as it does so, the door of the holdfast itself creaks open inwards, blown by this breeze.
Should we dismount? Make our way up there?
Yes. I'm sure you're feeling about this. Something's not right here.
Let's
What is going
ride
on?
up a bit closer. I don't want to stay too far from the horses.
Yes. I'm sure. Yeah, being able to run back to them would be. Just be on your guard.
Are we here?
I thought we were, but no one is here for us.
Seems like that night was right. Everybody's cleared out then.
If everyone cleared out that wouldn't mean the house, the main house. There should at least be some people here, some people guarding it. Anyone could come here and pick it clean the way it looks right now.
It is a very nice house.
Oh, I've seen better.
Have you?
Come on, Tim, let's get closer.
I mean, it's nicer than Bambin's Hold, isn't it? No holes in the walls. No offence, Sir Jaime.
It's certainly nice enough not to be abandoned like this.
I'll ignore those comments and I'll trot the horse up to near the front of the house and then
We both give Tim Tim.
Yeah.
Tim goes silent, drops his head, and does his best "I'm a quiet squire who said nothing" impression.
Yeah. And then I will hitch the horse up on a fence post somewhere near the main doors and dismount, and we'll start walking in, I guess. Unless you want to hang outside, Shauna, and do a perimeter thing, or...
Yeah, I think she's going to, on her way back from hitching, she's going to just look at, the little kind of blind spots or, around roofs, corners. If anything here that... any movement.
The place is still save for what the wind stirs. It's truly eerie. It's as if everyone who was here has just vanished. There's no evidence of a mass exodus particularly. Just quiet and stillness. And it strikes you the gates were wide open when you'd come up.
Yeah, I think her eyes narrow as she looks around, and she looks at Jaime. Keep your weapon where you can access them. Something's not right.
I agree. I'll cautiously move towards the actual front doors of the keep, and then head inside, see what there is.
As you reach the front door, there is a gust of wind and it slams shut in your face with a bang, only for the breeze to push it back open again a moment later. Beyond the door is a large hall with a staircase that spirals upwards, grand and wide. The mural that runs all the way up it is an illustration of the Westerlands, with prancing purple unicorns and rearing golden lions. It's freshly painted. It's not chipping or flaking in any way. This house must be fairly newly improved upon, if not built. But again, in the cracks and the crevices, you see spiderwebs, dust building, The gleam of the balustrade itself is dulled.
Is there anything in this hold that would indicate recent activity, or does everything have that layer of dust to it?
Pushing in through, make an awareness noticed check. Or survival track, Shauna. I'll also accept.
Alright, notice it is.
Rolling Garbo today.
Roll a d6, see if that's any better. 13.
13. And what did you get, Sam?
A 9. Hooey.
Oof. As you pass through the house, you see motes of dust stirred up by your passing, but everything seems untouched. And with this state, it must have been at least a couple of weeks that no one has been in this hall. You spoke to the hedge knight, however, only 2 or 3 days ago on the road.
She'll point at the dust all around. This has been undisturbed for longer than a few days. We would have heard something. What, if anything, if they evacuated or something happened, but nothing. Not even looted.
Yeah, Charlie, is stuff still just hanging around? Like, there's no evidence of looting?
Yeah, it looks almost like a showroom. So things are set up as if people live here, but there's no, like, molding bread or anything anywhere. It's cleaned, but, staged almost.
I want to head up to the Lord's Solar. See if I can find any documentation or anything.
Okay. You make your way up the stairs. You still have a lingering headache, Jaime. The brown water of a few days ago took the edge off a little, but it's still pressing you. And as you push open the doors, searching for the solar, you find a well-appointed room with dark furniture and a carafe of wine, deep purple liquid inside, golden handled and spouted, delicate cut glass beakers beside. And
First
Lord's
things
desk
first.
with letters and such.
I'm going to grab a drink, pour myself a glass of wine, and then strangely casually we'll just leaf through whatever's on the desks and the shelves in terms of letters and stuff, and just try to pick up anything I can from what's in here.
All right, so let's do another awareness notice check just to see how much of the things you find. I will say, Sam, you were donated a crypt from Celeste, a gift for Jaime the Bywater Bastard. Thank you so much, Celeste, for that. I do apologize. Our chatbot is down at the moment, probably due to some of the behind-the-scenes stuff going on that we spoke about this weekend. So, fear not, Moldark will be back eventually, but we shall make do without him for today.
I think when Jaime drinks, get poured, I think Adeline just gives Jaime just like a crooked look, like, really? And then she will, I think while Jamie's looking through, she's going to kind of get a better layout of the area of the adjoining rooms and just kind of just keep an eye out for like windows, just like see if there's anything outside. She's pretty agitated at like how empty this is with no news from the small folk.
Okay. Looking out the windows, Adeline, you can see the landscape, the farms around. You passed a number of farms which were inhabited, But the small folk mostly kept to themselves, and you'd been busy pushing towards the Brax's hold. You can see those fires, but you cannot see any sign out of the window or in these hallways of anyone alive within. And Sam, what did you roll for your searching of the letters?
I didn't yet because I wanted to ask if I could get my wound dice away from having a drink now.
Yes, you can.
Please. Thank you.
You can also make a cunning decipher test if you'd like. So awareness notice is to just find things, and then cunning decipher is to find things within the correspondence. So it depends what your focus would be. But there are letters on the desk.
It would be just to find a spread of information rather than to focus down into something. It's 13.
Okay. 13. Cool. So on the desk itself, you can see a letter from the Lannisters that essentially is granting permission for the Braxes to leave the house.
Right.
It's a very short letter. There's a couple of others which are from kind of well-to-do tenants, essentially, the hedge knights, those who would have means, and these are kind of hand-delivered letters which say, all right, we'll redirect payment of taxes to here, or, you know, that kind of stewardship level of stuff. So you get the impression there was a plan in place. People were aware that the Braxes were leaving. But it's still so strange that the house
forwarding address on that tax letter.
The taxes are being paid to another house in the area for the time being, which eventually will deliver them to the Lannisters. I don't have the house in question. It doesn't seem important.
I was gonna say, like, is it important? If it's not important, then
No.
fine. What is important is they were given permission to leave.
Yep.
Okay.
But when they left, they didn't lock up this whole house. Every room that you've come to has been unlocked. Doors have been open. The gates were open.
We haven't found any bodies.
Nope. Nothing.
Cool.
And it's unsettling.
Yeah.
And as you push deeper into the drawers of the Lord, you find one which seems to have a false bottom to it.
Okay.
But you're going to need to figure out how to pry this bottom open. You can kind of tap it and you're like, this drawer seems really shallow. And then you kind of knock it and you're like, okay, I get it. I know why. But you haven't found the release for the bottom as such. And you can't just upturn it and tip it out. That doesn't work either. So how would you like to break this drawer?
So there's a false bottom actually in the drawer structure,
drawer itself.
or it's in the desk structure.
It's in the drawer structure itself, so you can pull the whole drawer out.
Okay, then I'll smash the drawer on the floor.
All right. Strength. Athletics.
Nine.
All right. You do so, and there's a powder that comes apart and over the floor. It's a black powder. And in and amongst this powder, there is a letter that seems to be half burnt. And you suspect that the powder that has come out of this drawer is perhaps ash.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up the letter, open it, read it.
Yeah, we lost you there for a very short second.
Oh yeah, I just saw myself lag. How dramatic. There are some changes going on with the Encounter Roleplay logins and things today, so that might be why. Hopefully I'll be alright.
It's okay.
Hopefully we'll restabilize.
But yes, of course.
I did tell Will not to do it while we were live, but who knows. You take the letter from this ash pile that's kind of exploded all over the already dusty floor and open it up. And in a familiar handwriting, Jaime, it says, "You've seen the signs now. Accept. The mother is coming. These ashes are a warning. And with the 13, I'm just going to use it. The ashes and the black, as you kind of kick through and explore the dirt on the floor, you find small bones and teeth amongst them. And the teeth appear to be, you would guess, a human child's teeth.
I will take one of the teeth and the letter. And then try and get back to Adeline.
Yeah, she said thanks for. There's not a area soul here. As if they just got up and left. Did you find anything?
His Lordship Lannister gave them permission to leave. And this was perhaps the reason why. And he hands her the letter that he's just read.
They know we're here.
I don't think they know that we are here. I think they know this mother is coming.
Either we're on the right track, or we're in trouble.
Both.
Yes?
I think we're on the right track. It's just not illuminating much for us.
Let's hope we don't find out too much too quickly. All this talk about dragons? That ruse that I'm your bodyguard might have to be put into practice. Because I don't like the idea of having you walk into whatever this is. We must be more cautious with this. This is more far-reaching than I thought it was. It's to evacuate the entire town. Why? There wasn't anything like that in the letter.
No, I don't believe the Braxes either have any familial connection with the Targaryens or any lines. Should find where they went, and if not, well, then I should entreat His Lordship Lannister to find out what the circumstances of this were.
Yes. Just eyes open, aware. What next? Stay here, look further, or
Stay here for a night, perhaps, and then move on. We really will need to find out where they went, or we are heading to Lannisport, Castle Rock.
Shauna and Sam, thanks to the Chaos Chorus who hit the 20 retweet goal, we've unlocked, I think it's a boon first. I'm going to treat it as a boon first. I don't care what this thing says because chatbot's offline and I can't fix it and it's bothering me. I am going to give you one truth. This is super powerful, as we know. And so you find yourself in an abandoned house. You have found a letter in a drawer of ashes, which seems to indicate that this house was in contact with someone from this conspiracy that you're hunting. You have a large manor house here to explore, to rest in, to leave. I would like for the pair of you to discuss for a moment a truth you would like to add to this house. And then we will come back. So I'm going to give you a moment to discuss. You can use green room chat as you'd like. And I'm going to cut up to Nuno, and we're going to catch up with Astor, and then we will come back to Adeline and Jaime. Astor, you rode into King's Landing with Wendell Gaunt, Maester Otto, and a small contingent of Gaunt men. The intention is that you are to present to the court that the Gaunts had no involvement with what happened at Famine's Hold, nor the conspiracy against the Targaryens. And the arrangement is that you will meet with Balerion Otherus, who remains at the moment the person taking audiences on behalf of the king. As soon as he hears what's on the docket, he arranges for it to be moved to a small side chamber. He's already been embarrassed once by this family feud and would rather the entire court not be witness to another he said, she said, they did, we did kind of conversation. He would much rather make a large, loud proclamation at the end, which makes him very heroic and wise and powerful. So you're scooted into the side chamber, and it's one of these dark wood-paneled rooms. There's another desk set up in here, but no seats for you, just a nice carpet on which to stand. The carpet bearing, of course, the Targaryen crest of the three-headed dragons. Balerion takes his seat, pushing out the tails of his cloak from underneath him. His arms cross on the desk, and he waits.
So, Charlie, currently in the room, is it just the two of us, or is Wendell here as well? Or is it just the two of us?
Wendell was told to wait outside. Essentially, he didn't want you two to end up having an argument that could be heard, so it's kind of headmaster's office, one at a time.
Okay, and you said that the deal was that I had to admit that the Gaunts had nothing to do with the poison and with the conspiracy, but is that right? I just remember the Gaunt poisoning part, not the conspiracy one. Am I misremembering that, or?
That was the original agreement, was just the conspiracy.
Was it?
Wendell Gaunt seems to have brought up, oh, not the conspiracy, sorry, the poison plot.
Gotcha.
But Wendell has brought up the conspiracy.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, no, in that case, I'll turn to others. My lord, yes, I'm sure you already know why we're here. I know you've had a not very pleasant run-in with my sister here in court not long ago. But I assure you that if I'm here is to make sure that wrong is corrected. As when Sir Wendell was saying, I am here indeed to admit that the Gaunts appear to have nothing to do with the poisoning that happened at my keep. But I am afraid that the other statement that Sir Wendell was mentioning, wasn't part of our deal. Actually, I do not have enough information nor proof to make such a claim. And I believe that's a matter for someone more important than either me or Sir Wendell to deal with.
I am sorry, my lord. Do I misunderstand? You're not sure if you're involved in a conspiracy to murder a Targaryen?
Sorry, could you repeat that? You broke a little bit.
Oh. I'm sorry, my lord. Am I to understand you're not sure if you're involved in a conspiracy to murder the royal family?
No, maybe you misunderstood. I am saying that I cannot confirm that Sir Wendell and other families that I do not have information about may or may not be involved in a conspiracy. I can assure you that I wouldn't poison my own keep and my own steadfast. but I cannot make
Do
such
you
a claim.
any knowledge that the Gaunts are involved in a conspiracy?
I do not, but exactly because of that
Do you
knowledge,
suspect,
not having that knowledge.
my lord, that they are involved?
My lord, I have my own suspicions, but I am not a man to speak out of turn nor without proof.
Let's roll an intrigue. Astor. All right. So this is a status breeding test to decide order of initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much for that, Bane, for Astor. Apocalypse. This is why we're now discussing the conspiracy. Because this
10.
is always bad news for Astor. Because
Yes, it is.
a letter. A 10? Alright. Let me roll. I missed my tray of dice. I like it a lot more. Look at you. Okay, here goes first. I had a feeling, but just in case.
Yep.
So he gets to go first, and he is going to attempt to read target on you to see if you are essentially. He thinks you might be hiding something from him, and he's trying to get a grasp on your disposition towards him, that kind of a thing. So he's going to roll an awareness notice check versus your passive deception.
Mm-hmm.
So that for him is going to be 12.
Yeah. My passive is an 8, so.
Okay, what is your disposition towards Valarian?
It would be, let me just check the cheat sheet.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I'm just indifferent. Never met the man before.
All right. So you're indifferent towards him, and in your last statement, I know we didn't use like actions and techniques in particular, but in your approach to Valarian, what would you describe your last technique in as when you were just speaking to him? Were you trying to charm him, convince him, seduce him?
Now, I guess it would be convince or charm, because I was trying to appeal at my nobility that I do not throw people under the bus without proof and whatnot. It's definitely not lying.
Cool. Good to know. And he's going to get a +1 bonus dice to his persuasion test for the duration of this intrigue.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of his go. As he kind of narrows his eyes at you, he sets down the quill he'd been playing with and the piece of paper in front of him. And to you, Astor, he's a handsome man. He's probably, you would guess, maybe twice your age, maybe a little older than that. He looks very strongly Bravosy. Everything about him screams Bravosy to you, including his colorful dress. It's Westerosi fashion, but colored by Bravos. And there's a lot of gold to it, and you see a lot of gold jewelry as well. It's possible that he's increased the amount of gold jewelry he has since he met Allegra, because he's been a busy man. But that's kind of it. And his general posture to you is kind of open as he sets this quill down. So, if you were to speak out of turn, what would you say? And it's with this comment that he's looking to your expression. That's when he does the read.
Yeah. My lord, if I were to speak out of turn, which I am definitely not doing at the moment, I would say that perhaps there are members of House Gaunt that have weird involvements with weird factions and people, and perhaps someone should look into it. Definitely not me nor my house, since we are supposed to be healing allies.
Are your house not loyal to the crown?
Of course we are. If ordered to do so, then we would do. But without any official orders, our prime concern for now is to make sure we survive.
My lord, if I put this paper in front of you and it says that you, Lord Astor Tremaine of House Tremaine of Famine's Hold in the Crownlands, here do solemnly swear that Wendell Gaunt and his family had no part in the poisoning at your home, would you sign it?
If that's the only thing it says, I would.
Would you sign to a piece of paper that states you have strong suspicions of the involvement of the Gaunts in a conspiracy against the crown? Would you sign that?
I'm afraid it would depend on the specifics. It would be the first time I see a legal binding document about suspicions, my lord.
The Lady Allegra Dorsey presented to me a letter which clearly outlined the involvement of an Adeline Tremaine in a plot with an unknown woman, I am led to believe, from House Gaunt, to end the line of Valyria. I have a copy of this letter. And he clicks, and a scribe comes from the corner of the room and lays down a copy of the letter which Belarian Otherus had made. And that is turned in front of you. I also have a letter from you which states very clearly that the Lady Allegra Dorsey does not represent you or your house or your interests, and as such I am very interested in what you do represent for yourself. You get the impression from this, I'm going to give it to you for free, that he isn't super happy with you for upsetting Allegra. There's a definite bit of personal pettiness going on. This is going to tie into that pain that you've got.
Yeah. In that case, if I sense that from him, that vibe, yes, my lord, I am afraid I had to send that letter. My sister is known to make rash decisions, although I do love her to pieces, and she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. But the truth is, she sometimes tends to act before she thinks. And as I said, we had a growing suspicion of this fact, and I didn't want to rush things until more proof was in the light of day. This letter here, I assume you did get her from my sister then.
During a rather dramatic scene here in court, she was very upset. Her dear uncle had just died, is my understanding. And then she was to be embarrassed rather cruelly by your cousin who did not show up to represent her in the trial by combat I had arranged. She did, however, pay her fine and leave King's Landing.
I am extremely sorry it had to come to that. If only she had listened to me and waited a few more days and rode with me instead of alone, then perhaps we would be having this conversation together.
All right, Nuno. You can make another statement if you'd like, but you're going to have to make your turn in this intrigue.
So at this point, with this, I'm just trying to win him over to our cause and make sure that he understands that, sure, Allegra was in the wrong here, because perhaps if he had waited, then things would have changed a little bit.
Do you genuinely believe, you could do charm or convince, but do you genuinely believe that Allegra is A, wonderful person that you love dearly, and B, do you believe that if you'd have been here, she'd have waited for you, that you could have presented the case better. Because if you do not fully believe these things, you're going to have to roll with deception.
Fair enough. Yeah. So the first part, for loving to beat to bits and pieces, it's a bit exaggerated, but it's not a lie per se. He does care for her, but just he's aware that things could have been easier if Allegra didn't meddle all the time. But yeah, he still has fond memories of her from childhood. As for the second part, 100% believes that things could have been much smoother if he was with her. Yeah.
I'm going to say it's on the line, but I will allow you to roll with persuasion for this.
Okay.
As long as in his core, Astor does genuinely love his sister, then I will allow it.
Yeah.
And we'll take the exaggeration as open exaggeration.
Okay, no, it's definitely an exaggeration.
Okay.
So you said convince, yeah? So,
yes. You could roll charm if you'd like. I don't think you've been especially charming towards him, because that's more about him.
More like
I would say
flattery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, convince in that case is an 18.
Very good. That is... double check. I think that's just 2 degrees. I've lost his intrigue defense. I'm going to call it 2 degrees for now, and I will double check it. So that'll be your will rank times 2.
Mm-hmm. So that's 6.
6. All right, minus his disposition for me. Okay. Cool. You did some convincing.
A certain amount of convincing.
a convincing for a certain amount. Yes.
I think Apocalypse is gifting 2 crits for the convince, but I promise I'll use it next. Apocalypse.
Perfect. I will add those to the overlay. Thank you, Apocalypse. And yeah, you can use those when you're ready. Cool. He takes a breath. Your sister, however, did come to court alone. It is my understanding that you were very sick. So I can perhaps see why she was alone. Although Jaime Bywater was with her. Jaime Waters, sorry, was with her.
Yes, that is a fact. I was still very ill from the poisoning, my lord. But as far as I'm aware, my brother was here on other business, not accompanying my sister. Am I wrong in that?
I do not know. I'm simply trying to understand your relationship, for you see, Jaime or Jerez is also my brother.
Of course, my lord. In that case,
Are you finding it difficult to be Lord Tremaine?
I would be lying if I said it was easy, given that started as a tender age. But I believe with what I had, I am doing a very appropriate job.
Is that what you believe?
There are days where things are harder than others, especially when you inherited a age-old feud that you have no intention of keep feeding, but somehow the flames keep getting stoked. But could have been worse.
It is almost as if a chaos chorus surrounds you and keeps throwing obstacles in your way. But you must understand, my lord, you have left me in a difficult position more than once in the ignoring of Allegra's representation for you, in your absence from court, in your arrival here, and disposition to agree to one tiny detail but not another. I suppose I am trying to understand what it is you want from court today. What it is you truly want from this feud or not feud. Tell me
Very well.
that, Astor, and we can negotiate the terms of the paperwork you must sign today. And he's going to roll a convince to get you to outright tell him, cards on the table, what you want. All right, I get a +1 bonus dice.
Yep.
So I'm going to roll. I think.
I am scared.
Wait, not that one. Keep that many. 25 with 2 crits.
I have an 11, so that's 2 degrees, right?
No.
It doesn't reach the third by 1?
16. 16 would be 2.
3 degrees.
Yeah,
Okay,
3
gotcha.
degrees.
3 degrees. Doesn't reach the fourth by 1. That's what I was.
Yeah, doesn't reach the fourth by 1. So that is going to be 3 degrees. 12 intrigue damage. Plus, he also hits you with vulnerable hit. So your defense rating or disposition rating is going to be reduced by 1. So essentially, you cannot reduce the damage by 1, so it's going to hit you for a little bit harder.
Okay.
And that is that. And that was a convince action.
Okay, so that's 12 total damage, yeah?
Yes. So your
Minus,
disposition would normally
does the
put out
-1 disposition already kick in?
No, I haven't taken that in. So it's from the overall. So if your disposition rating currently is like a 2 soak, it becomes just a 1 soak, for example. Yeah. So you deduct that.
Yeah,
and
so
then
it's
that'll be
10 total, but if I take a frustration, can I reduce it further? Because that's the thing, right?
Yes, that is a thing. So your frustration will reduce the damage by I think your will rank.
Gotcha. Okay, so I shall do that, which means that I only take 7 instead of 10, and I am now 2 composure, and we carry on, and 1 frustration.
Okay, and you will be at a -1d on all persuasion, I think also deception tests for the rest of the intrigue. So it's kind of like taking a social wound.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
So he wants you to put it all on the table.
My lord, what I want is to be left alone, away from this feud, so I can rebuild my house to proper glory, while the Gaunts keep tormenting me and making me come to King's Landing to sign these petty agreements. Then I cannot make my house better. And this is why I ask you here today that if I sign this one detail, to give me something in return, that shield me from further interference from a house that clearly wants us harm.
All right, Nuno, that seemed like a good counter argument. Make your roll, and I'm going to give you a +1b because you did honestly put all of those cards on the table. Look at that cat. She's going to come for you when you see Sam. I hope you know that.
Okay.
Poor little Morello is going to sit on your face until you stop moving. Tell the black cat.
Cool. In that case, I'm gonna. I'm just trying to convince him to help us, to be honest. So it's gonna be convince again. -1d from the frustration. Yes, I'm gonna add +2d from the crits.
Yep. And you've got your 2 dice.
Yeah. So +1b. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of 4-2, it is now 5-3. Okay, this should work.
very complicated maths going on. Adding and subtracting dice.
17.
Ooh, very nice. Alright, so that is 1 degree of success, I think. Yes.
One
your
degree,
will
then
rank
it's
is
just 3.
3?
Yeah, will is 3.
Cool. My lord, I grow very tired of your bickering. We are at war here. The Siege of Tyrosh is already happening. There is a border conflict with Dorne. In the north, a rebellion. And worse still, pushing down from the wall, there are reports of wildlings. And he shuffles papers on his desk. Even though it's not the specific letters he's referencing, it's demonstrative of, I have so much paperwork to deal with right now. And you and your neighbor are bickering. You will sign this piece of paper that says that they had no part in this poisoning. You will also sign a piece of letter that verifies the letter that your sister delivered to court as something you have seen and you have read. You can add the stipulation that you know no part of this letter beyond what is written in it, if you would like. You will also agree to dissolve the engagement between Tala Tremaine and Wendell Gaunt. Clearly, you cannot play nicely with your neighbor, and therefore I am separating you permanently. I do, however, have a report here that says your master-at-arms murdered a member of the Gaunt household. I believe this is why you are here, and this is the agreement you have reached with Wendell Gaunt, and I do not wish to hear in the future of any more incursions onto each other's lands. Do we understand each other, my lord?
Perfectly, my lord. And if you were to look at the facts, any incursions were made by a rogue person, in this case, my deceased cousin, or by an army on the Gaunt side. So I hope you see the difference.
The Lady Adeline Tremaine is dead.
Correct.
As you lie to his face. As you say correct, I am going to make you roll for deception.
Of course you are.
It's an outright lie.
And this is
And
just
I know that in the meta. And we got to see.
Yep. No, it's just going to be a failure, Charlie. And I'm just going to roll. Because this is at -1d, so it's just 1d. It's a
you
3.
can roll with convince bonus dice, you know.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
can
In that
do
case, let me just roll again. What? I have 2. Okay, so let me just roll twice again. And take the highest one. It doesn't matter. 4. Okay, there you go. What are you doing that face for, Susie? I have 1d6.
Why are you so shy at lying? You're my brother.
Sir.
You got all the genes.
Oh, no.
You lack your sister's flair with words. The next time you lie to me, there will be a severe consequence. Do you understand? I am acting on behalf of the king. King Daeron II of all of Westeros, and soon to be, as I understand, Tyrosh.
Of course, I apologize. It is just not part of my person to lie, so I shouldn't even attempt it. My cousin, Lady Adeline Tremaine, or shall I say, Adeline, as she has betrayed the family for the last time, has fled. I did have to make a scene out of it so that my subjects would know to respect me. She's not dead, she's at large.
Two things then, my lord. One, if you continue to lie for Lady Adeline Tremaine to this court, you will be seen as a co-conspirator in her plot against the crown. You understand this is the crime of treason, punishable by death.
Of course, it will not happen again. If I see Adeline Tremaine myself, I shall bring her to justice.
That is my second point. I require her brought to this very court, presented. She will face her crimes. If she is not delivered to me, I do not care if she is alive or dead, incidentally. I will strip House Tremaine of its lands and brand your house a traitor. You have proven yourself disloyal to King Daeron once, and I will not allow you to prove it a second time.
Certainly.
You must understand my position, Lord Astor. This is not personal, although I do think you could be a little kinder to your sister. This is about a war that is waging on multiple fronts and has been waging for 2 years. It should have ended on a field near your property, and it has not. I will help King Daeron end this conflict so that we might all prosper in these 7 kingdoms. As his sons help him end this conflict on the fronts where they fight. Prince Baelor will be returning to the capital, and he shall be fully briefed on my findings and intentions in this matter. I would suggest that by the time he returns, so too the traitor is delivered. It would make a nice welcoming gift for him.
Of course, I understand. I will get it done. Worry not. I assure you that my primary objective, on par with enhancing my house, is to make sure that whoever is conspiring against the crown is brought to justice. They have poisoned my hold, my lord. It will not go unpunished.
If you are to find any evidence, any additional spies, conspirators, assassins, and deliver them at the same time as your cousin, perhaps the crown shall look favorably upon your house.
That is good to hear. I appreciate your kindness.
Any other business, my lord, before I invite your neighbor in and give him a similar appraisal?
That is all. I thank you for your time and your understanding on this matter. It has been for way too long that I'm faced with cleaning the mistakes of my ancestors when it comes to House Gaunt. It is good to see that the crown sees eye to eye with me on this, and the issues will be resolved. And for that, I thank you.
And the scribe delivers 3 pieces of paper in front of you. The first one is the declaration that the Gaunts had nothing to do with the poisoning at your hold. The second one is a declaration that you will not incur upon their land, nor commit any further murders, etc., harm against them, kind of thing. And the third is the signed declaration regarding the letter. It says that you had no prior knowledge about this letter, etc., you're not involved in the conspiracy, but this is a letter that you ratify and do agree that your cousin is involved, and you will deliver your cousin in 2 weeks to the court, else face punishment.
2 weeks?
That's when Baelor's back.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I don't know, Charlie, up to you. You want me to roll something to see if there's nothing shady with the letters, or is it just literally what it does?
I will just say, like, straight up, the letters are just, to the point, as stated. There's no kind of quick swindling going on here. He's been very precise in the terms, and it's pretty much essentially what you've agreed. So there's no swindling or anything going on. But if you'd like to roll to have a final impression made upon him, if you want to continue your charm convince, you can make another roll for this if you'd like, so that you can have an outcome for your intrigue.
Sure. Okay. It's less dice now. 15.
Okay. All right, so it's 1 degree of success.
So it's 3 again.
3 again. So what would you like to convince him of in your parting statement? What would you like your statement to be?
Okay. So upon reading the last letter, so the one with a time of 2 weeks, Astor would probably pause for a little bit and, My lord, I have all the intentions of finding my treacherous cousin in 2 weeks, but the land is vast, and she has fled quite some time ago. The clause in this legal binding document, could it perhaps say, in 2 weeks' time, minimum, but if evidence is presented that the search continues, could be stretched? I would appreciate it.
He looks to the scribe, and there's a tense moment, and then he gives a nod. And there's a slight amendment that essentially says, in 2 weeks, they're going to come and talk to you, and if you are not actively looking, then you're in big trouble. But even better if you have Adeline Tremaine to deliver.
Yeah. Perfect. With that said, Astor signs everything super fast and gets the hell out of there before things get worse.
Oh, and one more thing. And he clicks, and the scribe brings over the last piece of paper, the 4th one, which is the absolving, or dissolving, I should say, of the engagement between the betrothal between Tala and Wendell Gaunt. He says it will not be finalized until Wendell Gaunt also signs this piece of paper, and it is going to be sent off to Wendell Gaunt's father, who is actually the Lord Gaunt, who will need to sign it as well. But the process has begun, and then the king needs to make the final signature because it was his idea all along. Good job, King Dayron. All right.
Yeah, no,
so those are your 4 documents that you sign today, and you leave with that feeling of Valarian's going to be on your case. He's not in the best mood with you, but you got your small win, that you got that clause amended. So in 2 weeks, he's not going to turn up and take the house from you, as long as you seem to be doing something.
I understand that he might not be happy with me because I too am not happy with myself. So that makes sense. That checks.
Yeah. Wendell Gaunt kind of gives you a polite nod, reasonable nod, and kind of the hope that you can resolve things as you'd agreed.
Yeah, just nod back as he enters the room.
And as you part into the court, you are given a small note. And it's a small note that essentially says, "Come to my house. I have something interesting for you, Bellamy." And Bellamy, you would know, is Jamie's very good banker friend.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
And it's written in like a really big, squirrely handwriting, giant B on that Bellamy, fancy seal and everything. And that's where we will leave Astor for now. We're going to cut back to Jaime and Adeline, and I'm going to ask Sam and Shauna what the truth is that they've decided. Remember, this becomes truth. It is something that exists in the world as you describe it. I get to add on to it, but the truth as you intend it will be fundamentally true.
All right. So we were chatting, and I think we've decided that we find a clue pointing us to like a location for the people who are responsible for the letter. We want to do some chasing down rather than get more info about this holdfast in particular.
Okay,
But I can't
so
really
this was...
frame it much more than that because you have all the answers
Yeah.
and we have none of them.
Okay, I mean, you could have told me you found a person, but that's fine. So, you go through the house. This is what I will add to your truth. You go through the house and you find what is essentially a back storage room. But this storage room has been cleared of things. It's a room that has been repurposed from its use, which makes it strange to you. And you see laid out upon it, it takes you a little while to figure it out, but essentially they've made a map on this table. And you find in this room scraps of paper too, other notes from the conspirators, which are threats. You discover that essentially they had abducted a small niece of the lord of this house and said that her blood will be used to protect Westeros because the mother of beasts will be born and she must be stopped. And they essentially are tracking who is bringing these letters and from where. And on this map, they have a location. But you get the impression that essentially they gave up because the niece was returned to them as ashes.
Yeah, I was getting that vibe.
There was an exceptional threat against the rest of the family if they did not help. There were strange burnt messages that kind of gave hints to signs, dragons, things like that, essentially all tying into they have a prophecy that they believe the Mother of Ashes is going to turn up and Westeros will be in big trouble. A giant night army will arise from all the dead that have been wronged by the Targaryens and will obliterate everyone who lives in these 7 kingdoms. And it will be the birth of the Mother of Beasts that will bring about all of this. But you have a location. The thing about it is even further north than you'd expect, and you get the impression they didn't expect it to be so far north either, because it's almost as if it's a dotted trail where they followed like one courier to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and so on, and chased crows and things. And it's right on the border, the northern border between the Vale and the north.
Wow.
But there are a number of stops along the way, and one of them is a woods witch by the name of Anitha. Yeah, that's right, I did write that down. I'll put it in chat for you.
Okay.
Or Anitha. There's essentially a confession that they got from her. She's still alive and she lives in this hut. Up in the woods.
Okay. And she's just involved somehow. Just a courier for them.
Yeah, she was a courier for them. One of the couriers. They essentially use a network of people to deliver these letters and it gets passed around. And they also use ravens sometimes, which was a pain in the ass to track, is the impression you get.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Cool. Alright. Lovely. Towards her then.
Alright, I will frame it
First thing.
as this. Yes. First thing will be when you need to leave. You've been here, a good chunk of the day now, kind of investigating, finding small details that lead you to this room and to all of these things. It is a nice home, and you would be able to get a very good night's sleep in one of the many bedrooms that it has. Or you're welcome to camp with the cart with the 3 dead women and Satim outside with your horses if you'd like.
No, I think I'm going to stay in the nice house.
It's going to be a
no
tough
one's using it
ride
right
so,
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be a tough ride, so might as well get a good sleep. Let Tim have a good sleep before we head up.
We need to do something to preserve these bodies. So I don't quite know exactly what it is, Charlie, but I would look for something that's more probably to do with animal husbandry, or maybe butchering or something, to try and
You
find some kind of
could-
substance to preserve
You
them a
could
little
cover
bit
the
more
bodies
longer.
with salt.
Yeah, that's kind
That's
of
the traditional way of
Yeah,
preserving
because-
something that would maybe
yeah.
occur to Jaime.
yeah.
Or put them in a barrel of wine. That is also a way to preserve something.
Dip them in tar.
Don't want.
For everyone who's going to come at me in the comments for ways to preserve things, thank you in advance. Cool.
Yes.
So,
Please, we'll
back
use
to
your
what we were doing.
suggestions later.
Don't take
Yeah.
advice from any of the shows. We barely know
No.
what we're talking about, and we know.
Yeah.
We don't. We're gonna salt these bodies.
Yeah, so preserve the bodies if it's not a challenge, because we need
Alright,
to
ton of
keep
salt
them
here,
going.
yeah.
I will take a survival roll from Adeline to help for this. I
Okay.
think that's probably the best, because I know we don't have any good healing rolls between us, so we'll
God.
do that. You do have bonus dice as well, Shauna, on the screen from the Chaos Score.
Oh shoot. 13's good.
13's good. It is
Roll.
good. All right, so essentially in the storerooms you find barrels. Most of the like fresh goods were cleared out, but the barrels are still there, and you can use some barrels to essentially cover the bodies in a way that will help preserve them for longer, so they don't rot as rapidly, and it will probably put off any bugs that are still living within them, feasting away merrily. But that is done. Is there anything else you'd like to do while you're in this house in terms of acquiring provisions or anything like that?
Yeah,
Drink.
I think we should. Time is of the essence, and breaking in, like, stopping off into towns where we can be seen by whoever these witches' network is. We want to be traveling as swiftly and as undetected as possible, so take some provisions. This is a wealthy family. They're not going to miss a little bit of stock missing, coat missing.
Yeah, Jamie pours the rest of the wine into a water skin, and then we'll go around and grab provisions that will help us basically not have to stop off on the journey towards Anitha.
Right, Jamie. What do we roll to test your bound to the bottle? Remind me, if you will.
I just think it happens in moments of stress. Let me just hang on. Drawbacks. You turn to an addiction in time of stress or hardship. Whenever you're faced with a troubling situation, you must succeed at a challenging 9-will test or turn to your addiction for comfort, indulging in it until circumstances pull your focus away from it. That includes any side effects of indulging, such as getting drunk, the effects of drugs, losses, or gambling, and so forth.
Okay. What I would like to do is essentially what I would love a scene where Jamie is trashed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like Jamie to be trashed and Adeline to be trashed, and you to have a final buddy cup conversation before we go and meet the Woods Witch, Anitha. Thank you. That's all I want. I will make you roll for it, but if you are willing to give it to me for free, I will take it for free.
No, I will exchange it for a test die in my frame. Thank you.
You can have a bonus dice.
Okay.
I will give you 8 bonus dice, and I will give Shauna a bonus dice too for being a good sport and giving me the scene I want.
Yeah.
All right,
She
so
needs,
you've
she needs,
got your
she
provisions
needs to
together.
loosen up a little bit. She so tightly wound at
So-
this moment.
So Tim has fallen asleep. Essentially, I'm going to set this up as you've taken over one of the lounges. They've got, giant sofa in here. Tim has fallen asleep in front of the fireplace, getting warm, away from dead bodies. He's happy. He's like a sleeping puppy. He's good. You've got full bellies for the first time in days, and you've had a good fill of very good wine. Very nice white wine. And you've had a lot of it. And the night is edging towards that point where you know you've got to go to sleep soon. But you also know tomorrow there's going to be a lot of writing. And then you've got to deal with this woman. And that's the framing.
Can I ask you something?
Oh, sure. What is it?
Did you love her?
She'll kind of just squint. Yes, I did. I did love her. Love of my life. To be fair.
How did that... I mean, what was that like?
What was what? Being in... You've never? Really?
Well, I've seen some beautiful courtiers from a distance from time to time, and you imagine yourself with them occasionally, but it's not love, it's a fleeting feeling, and it's... Whores can only fill a hole so far, as empty as...
It was... She'll kind of like lean on it. It was the best and worst feeling I've had in my life. That every time that you're with them, you couldn't think you'd be happier. But every moment that you're not, it's torture. And it's torture to know that you can never have it. And I've had my share of trysts with different people, but there's always that moment where you can only go so far. They're willing to give up so much, and you're stuck. And that's why I look back to that relation to Della, is because she was willing to give up everything. And in my heart, I was too. It's the last 2 years of my life.
So why didn't you?
I was 16, and I didn't know the life outside. I didn't know what life was. I had my doubts that we could survive. That, honestly, to be sure that I wasn't enough for her. That's what it... That's every relationship that I've had. Friends, my father, always end up going badly.
Maybe the gods have done me a favor then. I've never had to experience this. It feels horrible. Sounds awful.
I don't take that as the lesson you get from that. I would have given up everything. The status, everything I have now. To be that happy again. It's something you just strive for no matter what the pain is. I can't. Jaime, I can't imagine living life without that. And that's what I hope for Tarla. You know? You weren't there when 2 years her sister was gone. I was. You remember a family woman? I was your only older sister. She was alone, and I just, I want the best for her. She wanted to ride. I convinced them that she should, because God knows it's having something that you're passionate about, something that you love, and God, it fucking broke my heart when we got the news about the betrothal. Because she's the best of us, and she deserved, out of any of us, to be happy. And now look where we are. She might be tied up with the same witches that got Della where she was. And
don't fucking
I feel
say
like
that.
I'm powerless to stop any of this. I can do what I did to Lagan, but none of that's helped her. None of this helped anything.
Nope. Not a bit.
Because if you didn't get that, you weren't so sure about her being alive, I would have discounted everything that she was dead. Everything that we've had up till now has the 3 women, the bones. If that's what they do to younger, I fear for her.
We are going to get to her before that happens. While there's still breath in my lungs, we're going to get there and we are going to stop them.
I will do everything I can to make sure she gets back. If there's anything that can... If there's anything I can... I've done so many wrongs, Jaime. If there's anything I could do... Last thing to do for this family. Just get her back. Says, I'll be honest. I have lived without hope for myself for years. And I can just leave some hope for her, Astor, Allegra, and her children.
Fuck.
You know what?
Alright.
Fuck it. You can both have a test dice.
Well, good night. And he very lazily pulls the pitcher off the table and slowly trundles off to the Lord's chambers.
I think before you do that, she'll grab your arm. It's like, you've had your question. What about you? What do you want?
What?
What do you hope for, Jaime?
We all know that story. I'm not particularly interested in traveling those bywaters right now. And he'll shake her off and start walking out.
Don't stop looking before you even started. That's my advice. Find the happenings where you can. Sometimes you're left with nothing. She'll take a bottle as well. In the morning.
And as Adeline and Jaime bed down for the night, Allegra beds down too in some far-off woods not far from Haystack. Donella had been nervous. She hadn't wanted to go to the house, not in the state she was in, and wary because of the two men. And it had taken some convincing, but she had convinced you, Allegra, to at least wait until morning before you went anywhere else. And so the three of you settle down to sleep, and the three of you all dream. Adeline, you wait by that tree struck by lightning twice now, and you hear Della laughing happily as she plays hide and seek just beyond your reach. And you remember Allegra leaving. She's getting married. She's going to live on the coast. She'll be happy there. Yanis is very handsome, and she's very excited. She and Della laugh and play hide and seek just beyond you, amongst the ferns and the trees, as you stand there by that broken tree. Tala steps out. She is laughing too, looking around for Allegra and Della. She looks startled to see you standing here. You're not part of their game. And then suddenly she says, "Come on," and calls to you as she charges off. But as she breaks the line of the bracken, her feet turn to hooves, and she becomes the giant horse R'hllor, running at speed through the woods. And you give chase, but R'hllor is so fast and so strong. All around you, Della and Allegra laugh and run too, just out of sight. "Find my sisters," Della calls, and she peels off on a path away, down to the beach and the crashing waves, and she leaps, and the water swallows her up, and she transforms. She transforms into something strange. Some twisted three-headed dragon, and it roars up black from the surf. And Allegra, you stare down at Adeline. This strange woman on the beach. A little knight threatening you. But you are the mother of beasts and ashes. You will raise armies. You will take back what is yours. And you roar, and each of your heads cast out a blast of the first of air, the second of cold snow and frost, and the third a twisting green fire. And it is green fire that bathes Jaime in his sleep. Green fire, but it does not touch the resting dragon. He lays there in a castle all alone as fire rips through. The other dragons are dying, but he's the true dragon, and fire cannot harm him. Allegra, you watch a crescent moon rise from the sea behind you, and you see in the lakes and the rivers the rising of women from the tides. The rising of women wronged, broken, beaten, destroyed by dragons and men. You are no longer the mother of beasts and ashes. You are the mother of Westeros. You are the mother of the children of the forest, the mother of the eternal frozen north, and of the fiery deserts in the Dornish south. You are the roots that tangle beneath the weirwood trees and drive together into the heart that sleeps. And you watch as these women rise, and they charge with one screaming, anguished voice towards that turning beast in the tides. And as they scream, you awake with a cramp in your stomach. It's not unusual. And your alarm subsides as you see no sign of blood, no trace of a child's passing. You have a sore neck, and as you see, you've managed to scramble free of your poor bedroll, and you lay sprawled out in the thick of the debris of this forest. Above you, just the tangling of the trees, and dappled light through oak leaves.
She sort of reflexively looks around for the stranger that's been haunting her ever since Famine's Hold. And she's really taken a moment now to just listen to that nighttime silence of the birds, the odd caw here and there, the odd breaking of a branch in the distance. And she mutters a quiet prayer to the mother, asking for protection whilst she and Donella travel the road. And she sort of gets herself up out of the dirt, tries to shake off that dream, those images she saw, and make her way back to the camp just to check on Donella.
Donella is awake, and you get the impression that she hasn't really slept all night. She pretended to go to sleep, but she stayed up. And you can see that the oil in the lantern has completely gone, that she'd used it, and she's still there. And in her hand, she grips a letter, and it's the last letter in the stack. The rest are discarded down beside her. And her face is full of anguish and sadness, and you can see the tear splotches and the reddening and puffiness of her eyes as she looks at this letter.
Allegra will sit down beside her and try and pull her into an embrace. What's the matter, Donella? Is there something in the letters?
She nods. And she looks around her, and she's exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And is trying to think of how to tell you what she's found. And eventually she gets the letters and she lines them up in a row. It's 2 rows of 7 letters. And on each, she takes a stick and takes some mud. And she's going to outline particular words and things for you as she explains there's a code in these letters.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a while, and I need you to roll a cunning decipher to see if you can figure out what Donella's found, or if she has to literally baby step you through it to show you what she has figured out.
Sure, I'll use my little blue friend up here.
Little buddy? Yeah.
Little buddy? Yeah. So I'm gonna roll 19. Damn, Lucky.
Damn. Alright, so in these letters to her good friend, Erica Dorsey is making a number of confessions. The first confession is that Donella is not Yanis's daughter.
What?
The second confession is that she is going to leave Yanis. But she needs help because Marguerite Dorsey will not give her access to any money and watches her like a hawk. The third confession is that someone has discovered her secret, and if she is dead, it's because they know that Donella is not Yanis's daughter, that Donella is the daughter of a Targaryen.
Okay.
And it's tiny bits and pieces, and the fact that Donella has found it in these letters to you is outstanding. Because it's in cipher, there are code words for things. And Targaryen is actually something that Donella has written out underneath. Because that was so codified, who this person is. And there's no name for which Targaryen. But she's figured out what it meant, and it's a Targaryen. And I want to say a massive thank you to chat who suggested a ton of truths. And that one was Pope, that Donella has in her hand a cipher which explains the mystery around Erica Dorsey's death. And now it's here.
Jesus.
And the truth I'll add is that her father is a Targaryen. There we go.
Of course, because why? Allegra can clearly see that Donella is absolutely heartbroken and devastated by this stuff. So she's gonna pull her in to a big hug, and you know that no matter what these letters say, that your father and I love you very much, Donella. That will never change anything. I'm sorry you had to find out about this way. It's awful. And I don't really know what else to say. I'm sorry.
And she is crying, and there are small kind of choking sounds in the back of her throat as she clings to you. In a way she's never really clung to you, aside from when she was really sick. And she doesn't know what to do with herself, but she does slowly calm again to that still quiet.
I think Allegra's stroking her hair, just trying to soothe her. Just doing really motherly, the stuff that mums do to kids that are upset. And she says, we don't have to do anything about this right now. We shouldn't do anything about this right now. You're too upset, and it's too much for you to think about right at present. What we can do is, in the morning, you can find somewhere, have some food, have a think about what we want to do about this. But just remember, Donella, that we're in your court. We want to help you no matter what you want to do. And if you want to tell your father, I will be there beside you. If you don't, I will also be there beside you. But you don't have to make that decision right now.
She looks again to those letters and slowly stacks them up. They're still precious to her. And you see her glance to the lantern where the flame had been. She can't destroy them, even though she perhaps thinks it would be best to. And she wraps them back up in the ribbon they had been tied in, and she'll hand them to you.
I'll look after them. As I said, whatever we decide, I'll be with you.
She pulls herself from your arms and stands up, and then offers out both of her hands to help you up. And she looks to the horses and to the trees that line the road ahead. And she makes the sign for home. It's a combination of a house built out of her fingers, and it turns into a claw. And that's her sign for Crack Claw Point.
Do you want to ride with me? Maybe get some rest. I can lead your horse as well as ride. You look exhausted.
She's about to say no, but she is tired and she gives in, knowing better than to argue with Allegra.
So yeah, I just pack up the horses. I get her horse ready to lead whilst I ride, and then we set off in the darkness because Allegra's not going back to sleep after this. She is wired after her dream.
I would like you to make an animal handling ride check.
13.
Okay. You manage to maintain pace fairly well. You're not going to risk killing your horse going too fast. But you can't coax the best out of the animal either. The horses have been on the road. They haven't been stable. They haven't been properly fed or watered particularly. So it's a slog, but you are on the road through the King's Wood. And at least that's a relatively straight line for you to follow. Although the trees do bear some menace. And Donella falls asleep against you, a fairly heavy lump to your back, arms around your waist. Let us cut to the wonderful Astor. Astor, you've had time to kind of get changed, deal with some small matters of business before going to see Bellamy. Bellamy, you know, is ostentatious. He has a party house in King's Landing. It's the best way to describe it. Anything else, Sam, that Astor might know about Bellamy that you'd like to tell him?
So he came here a lot, I guess. They were good mates. He's put Jaime up more often than not when he's in King's Landing. Because I don't think that the Tremaines kind of sponsored him being there in particular at any point.
Okay.
It's a solid friend, solid lead kind of thing. It's not going to screw you over.
So you get to Bellamy's apartment, and you can already hear the laughing of people inside. And a woman staggers and opens the door as you reach up to knock on it. And she's half dressed. Her top is kind of gaping open. She's got a scarf kind of draped around her shoulders, and she's laughing as she stumbles past you. In one hand, she's got a jug of wine. And she's kind of almost fake fleeing, right? It's a mock fleeing scene. She's looking behind her. She's laughing. She's waiting for whoever's pursuing her. And a young, drunken man stumbles out and chases after her. He's not much more dressed. His breeches are basically at his knees. And he's on his way after her. He's kind of pulling them up as he goes, telling her to slow down. He's way too drunk for this kind of thing. And they disappear off into King's Landing. And the door is left open. Inside, the aroma of sweet spices and fruit hits you. it's set up for a party and there are people in here having a good time talking. And in the heart of it is this laughing man, Bellamy. Instantly, that's who it has to be. And he's talking with each people, and anyone talking with him is very enraptured in what he's saying. He's telling a story about a pirate he'd known. The Bywater Buccaneer, your uncle, in fact. And he's telling the story of what Averin Bywater had gotten up to, and just how many women they'd met in Bravos, and just how many women whose names they'd forgotten in Bravos, essentially. It's about a lad's trip that they had taken and the good times they had had. Bellamy is significantly younger than your uncle, closer perhaps to Jaime's age, but old enough that he had gone on this trip when you were much too young to have done so. So this is the scene you come into.
Yeah, so as the two young people stumble out, Astor kind of steps aside and lets them go and kind of observes them for a second as they disappear into the outside, and writes himself up, cloak and the brooch, goes up to the door and sees the scene and hears the slight glimpse of the story of the Bywater Buccaneer. Stays there for a few seconds just hearing it, almost as if... how many times have I not heard this story before? And after a few seconds, just knocks loudly on the door and stays at the entrance without making too much of a scene, waiting for someone to notice him.
A new guest for the feast, Bellamy calls, and one of his serving women kind of beckons you in and indicates that you should just go straight over.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a
yeah. So kind of fumbly takes the glass of something and just looks around, kind of confused, and walks inside and tries to understand what he's supposed to do in a place like this. And kind of, I guess he would near the circle of people that are enraptured in the story that Bellamy's telling.
Speaking of the Bywaters, well, here we have him, Lord Astor Tremaine. Welcome, young lord. King's Landing fondly greets you. And either side of him, he's got a beautiful woman on one side and a handsome young man on the other, and they both kind of step up and move out of the way, so you have your choice of two seats.
Yeah, so Astor walks up to... doesn't really think too much about it. I guess he would stand on the left side of Bellamy and just... Thank you very much. I've got your message. Kind of looks confused at the glass once more, kind of gives it a little sip and sits down.
Don't worry, my boy, not poisoned. I am terribly sorry for that whole incident at your house. Terrible, terrible thing. Please, my Lord Tremaine, this is... And he introduced you to a couple of minor lords whose names are not important for this scene. And... introduces you as well to their lovely friends. There's a Cassandra. There's, I don't know, some other dude.
More people.
Daniel. There's a Joe. You know, Jessica.
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of a setup. Everyone is kind of introduced. He does do the lords first, but then he goes straight into the assembled sex workers as if they are also very important people whose names you should know. And he tells you, like, the classic, like, little one juicy fact about each person. And then he introduces you, and, my Lord Tremaine, what stories do you bring for us?
Oh, well, I'm afraid I don't have the gift of enrapturing stories like you and my uncle had before, but it depends. What would you like to hear? Something about, I don't know... horses? I don't know. It gives up the vibe that he literally doesn't know how to behave in this kind of circumstance.
And he is seeing you flail, and he licks his lips as he tries to think of a way to save you, and he says, "My, isn't he the adventurous one? Begins with horses." And everyone kind of laughs. as he makes a kind of dirty joke at your expense. No, we're talking about love. Lost, found, wasted, wanted. You're a young man, my Lord Astor, and I hear, as of today, yesterday, in fact, your name's day, you are in want of a wife. Is that not so?
Oh, well, yes, I would be lying if I said I wouldn't, I hadn't think about it. Especially, yeah, you're right, now that my name's day has arrived. Yeah, for sure, yes. That is something I should put some thought into.
And to your side, Jessica leans in and whispers, would you know what to do with a wife, my lord?
Pride
goes everywhere out of his face.
Yeah. Yeah. So the only thing about horses that the Tremaines have is not only breeding them. There's one more similarity. I don't know. Yeah.
Bellamy
as he tries to make a comment.
Bellamy is choking and like laughing, and he pats you on the shoulder. Easy, my boy. The night is still young, and clearly so are you. Right, everyone, give us a moment, why don't you? My Lord Astor's here on very serious business, and I intend to be very serious for approximately until the end of this wine glass. And he dismisses his mini court, and the sex workers and the lords kind of shift away. In the corner, there's a musician playing. They kind of gravitate towards that to go in, move away, and you're given privacy, a very intentional privacy. You get the feeling people are still probably listening. It's like, it's not that big of a space that it's impossible, but they're giving you the appearance at least.
Sure. I'm sorry, I don't leave my hold too often. I'm busy since I was, 15. But I've heard that you are good friends with my brother, yes?
I do think I have the honor of counting Jaime amongst my friends, yes.
Good. And I suppose that the reason you called me over was related?
Oh, that's right. I invited you. I remember now. And he takes a deep gulp of this wine. Well, it's my understanding you have made quite the impression on young Lord Velaryon.
Well, that's one way to put it, yes, quite the impression.
Impression
I'm not
enough
sure
that he has not gone home to his lord father at Driftmark.
Correct. I hate to break it to you, but perhaps I wasn't the person that made an impression on Lord Velaryon. But I guess
Allegra
it works
up to
the
her
same way.
tricks again, is she?
Not this time. No. The other sister.
Oh. The one engaged to... Oh, well.
Yeah.
And how did that go
As you
down?
may. Well, let's say that it's still under resolution, so I can't really speak about it too much. Things might change yet, and, on top of the fact that she's currently missing, things are not looking great.
Oh, how terrible. I thought perhaps she'd return to you. And you can see he's reached under the desk or the table, and there's a very thin drawer, and he's opened it up a little way towards his gut, and he's pulling out some papers, and it's little notes and scrolls, and he's clearly checking information that he has.
Yes, sadly not. We're doing our best to make sure she's found as soon as possible, but so far...
Well, I'm afraid I've had no reports. Nope, nothing here. But Lord Valarian would like his son back. Although, definitely in your advantage to make that arrangement. It's my understanding the Valarians have a great deal more money. Not to mention 2 castles and a fleet.
That is very true.
A very good
And,
arrangement, my Lord Astor. Congratulations. And he's clearly giving you the credit, but you get the feeling he doesn't think it's you that's done any of it, but he's going to give you the credit, and he's, making a show of what a very, very intelligent young lord we have here. Fine arrangements.
Yes, no, absolutely, of course. It's cost us a great deal, but I think it's a good step forward. And, enhancing the name of our family. So I think it's positive overall, despite of all the grief that has been.
Do you gamble?
Well, no, but I'm sure someone somewhere has said there's a first time for everything.
That shall be the entire spirit of your evening. And he pulls out a deck of dragon cards and begins to lay them out. He deals you in, and a young lord comes over and joins, and he's dealt in. And soon money is being exchanged in gambles. The rules are explained to you very clearly. Everyone's like, this is just a practice round, and it's just a practice round for about 6 or 7 rounds until you finally make a cunning test to see if you pick up on this game.
Ooh, okay, let's go.
Astor has played this game before. You can use memory. If he has not, then you use decipher.
Is it a common game?
It's kind of like a weird variation on Westerosi poker, essentially.
Okay, so if it's the most played game out there, I assume he would have played it. Unless it's not, then in that case, I'll use one of the other 2.
Yeah, I would say this isn't a variation of this game that is likely to have been commonly played, unless you think Jaime has played it with you, which you could introduce into the fiction if you'd like. Because this is a version that Jaime would play. Okay, so you played this before with Jaime. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go then. Cunning memory, please.
All right, so that's this. 23.
Ooh, very good. So you get to be quite good at this. To the point where you can tell other people when they're lying, you notice it. You can tell, you can almost, not quite count the cards, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but you can kind of make good educated guesses on the things, and you remember the tricky rules which turn the tables on certain things when certain combinations are played. And you begin to acquire money fairly easily at the table. And at some point, a woman has draped herself in your lap. You're not sure when that happened. You were busy counting how many aces and things had appeared. But she's now there. And she occasionally applies your cheek with a kiss and whispers tips to you. Some of them are good. Some of them are not at all relevant to this game.
Sure.
But I'd like you to make an awareness notice check. You can add 3 gold dragons to your personal inventory. That's your winnings so far.
Okay. That's like 5 horses, Charlie.
I know. You are in the wrong profession, young man.
I know. What is this? 12 for the awareness.
Okay. With a 12, although you're in your cups and quite intent on this game, you notice at the window beside Bellamy a face peering in. Hands kind of like this up against the glass, and you recognize the maid Ellen. And she's looking in, and she's trying to like spot you in this room, and you notice this out the corner of your eye.
What? Yeah, that's too suspicious. Astor would try and play off the round as normal, so as to not raise any suspicions, and then excuse himself, probably to head to the loo or something.
Leave yourself.
Yeah, and then and then go outside. I guess already quite tipsy after these many rounds of drinking and playing, and just stumble outside. Hey, you.
My lord, I'm glad I found you.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
A letter came for you, my lord. It seems
Okay.
urgent that you would have such a thing. Are you quite okay? All right. She looks
Of course I
concerned,
am
taking
all right.
in the fact that you are inebriated.
Yeah, of course. What are you talking about? Of course I'm all right. Just give me the letter. What? You came all the way from... What? That doesn't make any sense. And just try and snatch the letter.
My lord, I came with you to King's Land. Are you all right?
That's true. That's right. Yeah, never mind. Letter?
All right, and she's going to hand you over the second letter from Allegra Dorsey that was sent by Allegra when she reached Storm's End. Susie, could you pull up the letter for me, please?
Yeah.
And I'm going to
Go
find the
on,
link
Susie.
to share it with chat. Because I
A
like you to read
lovely
this one.
letter.
Lovely letter.
Let me see if I can find it. I got it.
You
Do you
got
want to
it?
check the link
Okay.
in chat?
Yes, please.
You ready?
Always.
Astor.
Always.
Words will never adequately describe just how unrelentingly furious I am at you for choosing the traitor. It is a great shame over our family, and I will never forget it. However, you are my brother, and against all sense and reason, I love you, which is why I write to you now. As you know, we've arrived at Storm's End for the Sieging of Tyrosh. Imagine my surprise when I approached Lord Baratheon about arranging a marriage for Donella, only to find him screaming in my face about you. He holds you responsible for the deaths of his son and his wife. Furthermore, his surviving son, Beric, seems to have held a grudge. Through your actions, you have placed yourself and your family in grave danger. Lord Beric seeks to be done with you, which I can only assume it means he wishes to see you dead. And by the sound of it, he does not care about who or what he will damage in the process. If I should lose my husband, my daughter, or my unborn child because of you, I will never forgive you. Make this right by any means necessary. Allegra.
Astor kind of reads it once, then reads it again, puts a hand on the wall just so he doesn't fall over. Why? Kind of turns to the maid. Do you have any siblings?
I had 3. They're all dead, I'm afraid.
I am terribly sorry to hear that. Were they annoying?
My younger brother did set my hair on fire once.
What did you do to him in return?
I beat him with the willow broom.
It's a good idea. I shall keep that in mind.
Is something wrong, my lord?
Yes, something's wrong. My sister is annoying and naggy, and there's a moth in my room. And it's... she doesn't understand the things that happen. She Anyway. Whew. Deep breaths. Can you take this back?
Yes, my lord. Is there something else I can do, my lord?
think of more ways you would punish your brother.
If you were alive.
Oh, yes, forgot about that. Sorry. Again, terribly sorry.
My lord, your sister will come back. The Lady Tala, I mean. I'm certain of it. I had a dream about it.
You had a dream about what?
You know the hole that's full of water that you nearly fell in when you fell off the horse.
Yes.
I had a dream that she just erupted out of it. She just rose. And she looked at you and she smiled and she said she was back and she was going to make everything all right. She said she'd made an arrangement that the house would be protected.
Astor takes a step closer to the maid.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of puts his hand on her shoulder, kind of sloppily. Were you drinking before you had this dream?
No, my lord. Although, I think you have been.
Nonsense. Apparently I'm good at gambling. So, take this back. I will need to address it in the morning, but not now. And did I tell you my sister is annoying?
Which one, my lord?
Doesn't matter. And he hands her back the letter and half stumbles back inside.
And she watches as you go inside. We will find out exactly what you get up to at Bellamy's party of totally not good behavior for young boys next week. We will do a small post-credit scene, and then we're going to quickly go around, check in on everyone's agendas, goals, and set new agendas and goals for next week. So, post-credit scene. Beautiful outro music fades. And we watch as Astor is inside at Bellamy's party having a wonderful time. And the maid Ellen sits just below the window. And she's holding that letter from Allegra in her hand. An hour or so passes and she slowly unravels it. And she reads the letter. She makes a face of comprehension as she now understands why the Lord Astor reacted as he had. But we see that her eyes keep dropping down to the name Beric. She rolls the letter back up and tucks it away. And in her other pocket, she pulls another letter. This letter is for Allegra Dorsey. All of the mail for the Tremaines and the Dorseys had been delivered to her, assuming they were in party together. This one we see is still sealed, and she taps it against her chin as she tries to decide what to do with it. This is where we end today's session. Let's pop up to Allegra Dorsey herself, to Susanna Grace. Your agenda today was Hot Boys, Hot Spring, Hot Boys.
Yep.
They were
and I feel like
boys.
I should get extra points for killing a dude whilst naked. That's got to be extra bonus points, right? That's how it works.
I give you 5,000 RP points.
Thank you.
For this Westboro GTA session we're playing.
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah, you get the extra points and you got away with it. Your wanted level decreases. Cool. I think you achieved your agenda of Hot Springs Hot Boys.
Yeah.
And you've continued to progress north.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to various chat boons and banes and things, you overcame the stumbling block. So congratulations on that. And you are pushing north. You have not, however, stopped off at Haystack Hall. You are low on provisions.
Yep.
And it is quite a long ride that you need to make. So with this in mind, and with the dream in mind, what is Allegra's agenda for next session?
Allegra's agenda for next session is stop somewhere that they can get more provisions, or maybe even get to a port town, or somewhere they can get to water to get home quicker. And also figure out what I can do about these letters.
Cool. Awesome. Susanna Grace, where can we find you and all of that fun stuff?
You can find me all over the internet as Susanna Grace, because it's my name and mono branding. I will be here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern for Secrets of Pendragon, where I play the best knight in not Westeros, even though my mind keeps wanting to say Westeros. It's not, it's Dark Ages England. And I have a squire who is the worst, but I love her dearly, and a bunch of other ragtag crew in Dark Ages Cthulhu. And then on Thursdays, you can find me at twitch.tv/follow Black Cats for After the Fire, in which I have even more daddy issues and treason, which is a game sister campaign to this one. It's at 3 p.m. Black Cats. There we go.
And you can buy t-shirts that say daddy issues and treason. Find out more about that over on the Follow Black Cats Discord and via their social media. Nuno. For Astor's agenda today, we had make friends and find wife. I did slightly slow you down by making you deal with Valerian Otheris. But yes. I think overall, while you didn't win the main intrigue, you made a small impact upon the outcome of that. So I would think that's relatively successful. And you have found Bellamy's house. What is... Hang on, let me check something. 2 seconds. What is your passive... willpower?
12.
All right. Cool. I'm going to roll something in a second and we'll find out something. Cool. What agenda would you like to set for next session?
So I think given the documents that he had to sign, right, let's go with finish business here in King's Landing, which will involve finishing the party and making sure that the Gaunts agreed to all the other things, right? Because that will impact what he has to do. Once that is done, then the agenda is to pick up the search for Adeline, because no matter what happens, he thinks he's against the wall on that matter, and he needs to bring Adeline to justice. That's the main point.
All right, Nuno. Astor is successfully seduced at this party. We will discuss who by and the outcomes of that next week. I rolled a 13, so I beat your passive. But we can discuss who that is and what happens.
Love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we will finish up business in King's Landing and resolve things with Adeline. Mm-hmm. Also, speaking, where can we find you before I skip on ahead?
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Hey, you can find me online at jnunu.tex everywhere you find people online. Here on Mondays, this show, and then also on Mondays in half an hour, I have my Quest, the Soaring City stream over on the Chromatic Chimera Twitch channel. It's a really fun system. If you haven't played it, go and play it. The campaign has been received massively well, so we're very happy for that. We're thinking about continuing it after the season ends. We haven't decided yet, and there are a few things in the works that I cannot speak of related to that stream, but just stay tuned and there'll be surprises. That's it.
Awesome. All right, dropping down to Adeline Tremaine. I super appreciate that you and Sam did that scene for me. I just wanted it, and it was a lovely moment, so thank you for that role play. Your agenda for today, if I find my note, is to identify, Jaime's, is to find more information and other hideouts, which you did do. You managed to uncover the hideout of Anitha, who we will meet next week. And you got more information by coming to the Hall of Hornvale here at House Braxton. Oh no, not House Braxton, House Brax. So I think you were successful in your agenda for today. What would you like to set for your agenda for next week?
Find location of where these witches are from the woods witch that we're meeting next week or next session. Get information. Get relevant information.
All right, let's go even more specific. Shauna, what do you want to have accomplished by the end of next session? All right, we're going to assume you're going to get more information, but come on, give me a nitty-gritty actionable goal.
I want to find one of these coven members.
And do what,
Not
Shauna?
like, huh? Information.
And do what, Shauna?
Yeah. Question
Right,
and then
find and stab. All right.
find stab.
Find and stab.
Find stab.
Awesome. I think that's a great goal. All right, we're going to find very specifically a coven member. So that's awesome.
Mhm.
Where can we find you on the internet, though?
You can find me actually next time. Find Sirs on Twitter, where I have art and the games I play. Find me next on Thursday for the K-list on this channel. The Klingon campaign continues, and we successfully last time we played killed some giant tribbles. So we'll have some nice, upholstered seating for our chairs in our wonderful trophies, our fuzzy trophies. Wait for that. And then after that, on Wandering DM on Saturdays, it's Black Flag Pirate Campaign, where the other character that shares the Daddy Issues and Treason shirt, my terrible little sea witch, wants to sacrifice the crew for her demon lover, and everyone is plotting against each other. It's great. It's a mess, but it's great.
Awesome. Susie, if you want to duck out and go and dive in, because we've got Dr. RPG coming up next, much love to you. We're going to hop on over to Sam and get your thoughts. Your goal for today was identify the women Targaryen/bastard. We didn't get to the bottom of that mystery today, unfortunately, but you did get a significant lead that other things are being taken and other people are being messed with. So I'm going to say, well, we didn't hit that specific goal. You did have a successful day. And again, thank you so much for the roleplay in that scene. I appreciated it greatly. It's beautiful.
Right.
So we're going to meet Anitha for definite next session. I'm guaranteeing that for you. What is your goal when you meet this woman?
Well, she's just a lead, I think, onto the actual coven themselves, if she isn't already a member. So it's just finding out what she knows to get us to the next step, basically. But I love an intrigue with her. I've got bodies I want to use to intimidate her with, and all sorts of borderline horribleness.
All right, I'm here for some borderline horribleness. I think Jaime and Adeline have seen enough horror. It's time they reap some of their own against these conspirators who are leading them on quite the merry dance through the countryside. I mean, what? Not leading. I mean, have left a trail which you are following. There's no leading. I would like to say a massive thank you to everyone who's watching, whether you're live or on YouTube. Thank you so much if you're watching live for those clips and the gifts that you have given us via the donations. Shout out in particular to Apocalypse/Shepherd and Pope World Build. Thank you as well for the subs and resubs. Thank you and welcome to the Chaos Chorus. I apologize if I'm slightly out of it today, but this weekend was mega because we had EncounterCon and it was the best time. We had 2 days with 3 games on each day. And it was really great to spend so much extra time with you all. But it means that today I'm a tiny bit cooked. And we are going through a change here on Encounter Roleplay as we partner with Penny for a Tale going forward for the future. So things are changing, and that's why Moldark is currently offline, because accounts are being changed over as they're handed to the new owners. So soon, new things, exciting things, and all of those EncounterCon VODs will be coming up over the course of this week. I'm wedging them into our normal uploads, so you will see those coming up. So keep an eye out for those. Thank you to everyone for one last time. We're going to bounce because right after us is going to be the wonderful Dr. RPG. and I can't wait to see what he has in store. His subject today is relationships and love, which I think is a perfect tie-in. So let's see who his callers are and what advice he offers. Take care, everyone. We will see you tomorrow for Pendragon's Parish. Stay tuned for Dr. RPG.